رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على خاتم النبيين وسيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما إلى علمنا. So inshallah, we want to, we're trying to double up to get caught up from what we missed when we were sick. And so today we want to continue with today's actual scheduled book, which is Tahdhib al-Tahdhib by Abu al-Fadl Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Muhammad al-Mashhur ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah ta'ala, who died in the year 852. And we've read the author's introduction and some of the history of the book, and now we're actually in the biographies. And so since they are in alphabetical order and the categories start with the men and those who are named from them, then we have Haruf Aleph. Haruf Aleph, which is in reality Haruf Hamza. And the author, he told us that he was going to begin the Haruf Hamza with the name Ahmad. And so we'll start with our first biography. The author, he says, Haruf Aleph, Dal Faq. Dal Faq. So the Dal represents that this person that we're about to mention, his biography, his hadith, are in the Sunan of Abi Dawood. And Faq represents that this person, his hadith, can also be found in the tafsir of Ibn Majah. So, for example, when we say Dal Faq, that's telling us that this person, his hadith, are in the Sunan of Abi Dawood and also in the tafsir attributed to Ibn Majah, but it won't be found in any of the other books. So out of the actual 6, this person is only found in Abu Dawood's book. So that's already some beneficial and interesting information. One thing that I want to say before going into the biographies is, or two things. One, a book that is suitable to have along with these types of books is like Al-Ansab by As-Sam'ani or Al-Buldan by Al-Hamawi or something like this, that talk about the explanation behind the attributions. Like when you say somebody is Mosuli, right? Where is Mosul? So you can know where that location is. That's like a book like Al-Buldan, the book of cities. Because some of these cities, some of them still exist while some of them don't. And so you need to know where these cities are to get a better idea of the person in the region. Likewise, the book of Ansab by Sam'ani, which talks about the people's lineages, right? If somebody is called a Sahmi or a Zuhri, right? Or a Sulami, right? What are they being attributed to? What tribe are they being affiliated with? I don't know if I will translate a lot of that because it can become a lot. Obviously, there are whole books written about those things. So when it's easy, well, we might translate it. But when it requires research or something like that, we probably will just mention it as it's stated without going into the translation of the detail. If there's a question, obviously always just ask in the comments and we'll try to clarify whatever question about that person's biography that might have remained ambiguous. The second thing is that if a person were to see fit to mark in the comments, or I don't know how to do it, I'm not a YouTube guy, but if a person would mark in the comments or however, where they break it up to where like at minute 135 is the biography of this person and minute 215 is the biography of this person, that would be extremely beneficial and appreciated, because the main goal of translating this book is to make it as a resource for the English-speaking individual or the beginning student, the one who speaks Arabic but is still learning, to be able to try to apply his research to people and personalities and biographies. And so if it's detailed in the description or in the comments, then that will be something that's beneficial so a person can know, okay, which audio has what people and exactly when can they be found. And that will also lead to making it easier to transcribe at some point in time in English, so that this book can be available in the English speaking market as well. And I don't care if somebody transcribes it. It's free to the people. Anyway, He says, Harf Alif Dal Faq Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khaalid Abu Ali al-Mawsili Nazil Baghdad. The first biography that can be found in the Sunan of Abi Dawood, this person is found in the Sunan of Abi Dawood and the Tafsir of Ibn Majah, is Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khaalid Abu Ali al-Mawsili from Mosul in Iraq, who ended up residing in Baghdad. He says, روى عن محمد ibn ثابت العبدي دال وفرج ibn فضالة فق وحماد بن زيد وعبد الله بن جعفر المديني ويزيد بن الزريع وأبي عوانة وإبراهيم بن سعد وغيرهم. He says that this person, Ahmed ibn Ibrahim ibn Khalid, he narrated on the authority of his teachers were Muhammad ibn Thabit al-Abdi, as in the Sunan of Abi Dawood. Right? This is the chain of this person in the Sunan of Abi Dawood. Wa Faraj ibn Fadala. Likewise, Faraj ibn Fadala, as is in the Tafsir of Ibn Majah. Additionally, he narrated on Hamad ibn Zayd and Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Madini and Yazid ibn Zuray' and Abi Awana and Ibrahim ibn Sa'd and other than them. So these are from the individual's teachers. He says, وَرَوَى عَنْهُ أبو داود حديثا واحدا وروى ابن ماجه في تفسير عن ابن أبي الدنيا عنه وأبو زرعة الرازي ومحمد بن عبد الله الحضرمي وموسى بن هارون وأبو يعلى الموصلي وأبو القاسم البغوي وآخرون. He says that, and those who narrated on this individual, i.e. his students, were Abu Dawood narrated one hadith from this individual, i.e. in his Sunan, Abu Dawood narrated one hadith from this individual. He says, and likewise Ibn Majah narrated on the authority of Ibn Abi Dunya on this individual. So Ibn Majah narrates on Ibn Abi Dunya on this individual, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khalid. Likewise, Abu Zur'ah al-Razi and Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Hadrami and Musa ibn Harun and Abu Ya'la al-Mawsili and Abu al-Qasim al-Baghawi and others have also narrated from this person. These names, obviously this book is going to be an abundance of names. Get familiar with these names, because you'll be surprised how many of these names you recognize and are important names. Right? From his students was Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, Ibn Abi Dunya, should I say, the famous author of hadith, Ibn Abi Dunya, Abu Zur'ah al-Razi, Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Hadrami, Musa ibn Harun, Abu Ya'la al-Mawsili, Sahib al-Musnad, Abu al-Qasim al-Baghawi, right? From the students of Imam Ahmad, Naam, those who connected the older with the later, and others as well. Now, after mentioning the students and the teachers, and I'm just mentioning this for the first time so that we can be familiar with the method, he mentions the teachers, he mentions the person in the book that he can be found in, the teachers, the students, then he goes into the details of their criticism or praise. Who said what about him? He says, وَكَتَبَ عَنْهُ أَحْمَدُ بْنُ حَنْبَلْ وَيَحْيَى بْنُ مَعِينٍ وَقَالَ لَا بَأْسَ بِهِ. He says that Imam Ahmad also wrote hadith from this individual. Imam Ahmad would have been one of his contemporaries, but he also wrote hadith from this individual, as well as Yahya ibn Ma'in. Yahya ibn Ma'in, who also said about this individual, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim is who we're talking about. He said that this person, there's no harm with him. La ba'sa bihi. He's an okay person. He says, وَقَالَ صَاحِبُ تَارِيخِ الْمَوْصِلِ كَانَ ظَاهِرَ الصَّلَاحِ وَالْفَضْلِ. The person who authored the book, Tariq al-Mosul, the history of Mosul, and the person who wrote that book was Abu Zakaria Yazid ibn Muhammad ibn Iyas al-Azdi al-Mosuli, who was the judge of Mosul. He was known by Ibn Zakrah, who died approximately in the year 334. Al-Dhahabi said about him, he benefited a lot from his book of history, that book known as Tariq al-Mosul. The person who wrote the book Tariq al-Mosul, he said about this individual that he was one who was apparently righteous and virtuous. This individual was one who was apparently righteous and virtuous. ظاهر الصلاة والفضل. He says, قال موسى بن هارون مات ليلة السبت لثمان مضينا من ربيع الأول سنة 36 و200. Musa ibn Harun, who was from his students, if we remember, said about Ahmad ibn Ibraahim ibn Khaalid, and I like to repeat the name, right? Saying things that even though it's not part of the biography, because the goal is for this information to stick. And so just repeating certain things, you'll find it sticking. So Musa ibn Harun, he said about Ahmad ibn Ibraahim ibn Khaalid that he died the night before Saturday, right? The night before Saturday, i.e. after Jumu'ah, that night after Jumu'ah, which is Laylatul Sept, the night preceding the day of a Sept, which was 8 days into the month of Rabi al-Awwal in the year 236. So he died Saturday night, the 8th of Rabi al-Awwal in the year 236. Ibn Hajar, he says, I say, Qultu. And if you guys remember that when Ibn Hajar says Qultu, then this is from the additions that Ibn Hajar has to the person's biography. He says, ذكره ابن حبان في الثقات. Ibn Hibban mentioned this individual amongst the reliable people in his book, Reliable People. وقال إبراهيم بن الجنيد and Ibn Ma'in ثقة صدوق. And Ibrahim ibn al-Junayd said on the authority of Ibn Ma'in that this individual was thiqah and saduq. He was righteous and reliable and honest. And so this is the first biography, the biography of Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khaalid al-Mawsili, Abu Ali, who died in the year 236. If you've heard that biography, one thing I want to do right now, just one time, or maybe a couple other times in other places, is I want you to do something. And that is, now that you've read this summarized biography, how would you grade this person? If you had to give this person a grade, what would you say that this person's grade is? Right? Yahya ibn Ma'in said he was la bats, no problem. Imam Ahmad wrote his hadith. As Ibn Zakra said he was obvious, he was apparently righteous and virtuous. Ibn Hibban mentioned him in the Thiqat. And Yahya ibn Ma'in said he was thiqah and honest. If you had to grade this person, how would you grade him? I'm assuming that most of you answered you would grade him as thiqah. So now let's look. Ibn Hajar has another book that is called Taqrib at-Tahdhib, the simplifying of Tahdhib, in which he only mentions the relevant information and he grades the person as if he's using a one-word answer. So in Taqrib at-Tahdhib, all of that biography of this person, which was maybe like 7 lines, 10 lines, including the teachers, he said that this person's hadith are in Abu Dawood and Tafsir ibn Majah. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khaalid, who was from Mosul. Abu Ali, he lived in Baghdad. He was Saduq. And so you see that because a couple of people didn't praise him completely, Ibn Hajar's final grade of this person is that he was not at the pinnacle of reliability, but a little under that, Saduq. So you have a person who is thiqah, who is at the pinnacle, and then you have somebody under that, which is Saduq, right? He's righteous and reliable. He died in the year 36, i.e. 236. So that's an example of how you use this information to develop a grade. Right? Nobody criticized him, but some people fell short of praising him abundantly. And so therefore the final grade of that person is acceptable. Saduq is the type of person that would be in a hadith that is Hasan. And so that's a benefit here. Somebody between Hasan and Sahih. So that's a benefit in this first biography. The next biography, he says, Kun. And Kun, if we remember, was the Musnad of Imam Malik, authored by An-Nasa'i. So this next person, he doesn't have a hadith in any of the 6 books. He doesn't have a hadith in any of the 6 books. And so you already have, a little bit of criticism about this person, that nobody in the 6 books narrated his hadith, but instead this person's hadith can only be found in the Musnad of Imam Malik that was authored by An-Nasa'i. Who is this person? His name is Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Fil al-Asadi, Abu al-Hasan al-Balisi, Nazil Antakya. His name was Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Fil from the Asad tribe, Bani Asad. His kunya was Abu al-Hasan. He was known as al-Balisi, right? He was from Balis. Balis, with a fatha on the 1 dot and a kasra on the lam, is in a scene that doesn't have any dots, is when you attribute somebody to the area known as Balis. Al-Balisi is that person's attributed to the area known as Balis, and it is a famous city between Raqqa in Syria, and Halab, right? Aleppo and Raqqa. It's Balis is a city in between the two of them. It's about a farsakh is 3, so it's about 60 miles outside of Halab. It's about 60 miles, right? Ishrina farsakh. A farsakh, historically, a parsing is 3 miles. So he says it's about 20 parsangs, i.e. 20 farsakh, so about 60 miles outside of Aleppo. Look at the book Al-Ansab by As-Sam'ani, right? So from the things that are nice about this print is that they do a lot of that stuff that I said is necessary to do when knowing the affiliations and the tribes and where people are from and their locations. He says this individual, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Fil al-Asadi Abu al-Hasan al-Balisi, eventually settled in Antakya, Antioch, right? Antioch is a well-known city. We won't go into explaining anything more about it. So that's this person, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Fil al-Asadi Abu al-Hasan al-Balisi. Ibn Hajar, he says, he narrated on, who was his teachers? Ahmad ibn Abi Shu'aib al-Harrani, Kun, wa Abu Ja'far al-Nufayli, wa Abu Nadhr al-Faradisi, wa Duhaym, wa Abu Mus'ab al-Zuhri, fi akharin. وعنه النسائي في حديث مالك وأبو عوانة الإسفرايني وأبو سعيد بن الأعرابي وخيثم بن سليمان وأبو القاسم الطبراني وآخرون. He says that from his teachers were Ahmad ibn Shu'aib al-Harrani, as can be found in the book Musnad of Imam Malik by An-Nasa'i. Likewise, Abu Ja'far al-Nufayli, and Abu Nadhr al-Faradisi, and Duhaym, and Abu Mus'ab al-Zuhri, and other than them. Abu Mus'ab al-Zuhri, right? Duhaym is famous, and Abu Mus'ab al-Zuhri, the student of Imam Malik, right? The one who narrated the Muwatta, as well as others. And this might, right? I know I said I wasn't going to comment a lot, but this might be why you don't find him mentioned in any of the 6 books, because of how late he is, right? This individual is obviously a later individual. So Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, right? They would have had more senior teachers than this person. And, people like Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah, right, would have been more so almost contemporaries, or able to catch the same scholars. While Nasa'i, being the youngest of them, would have needed him more than others. From his students were An-Nasa'i, as in the book Hadith Malik, and Abu Awana al-Isfarayini. Abu Awana is the person who wrote the Mustakhraj on Sahih Muslim, as well as Abu Sa'id ibn al-A'rabi, and Khaythama ibn Sulaiman, and Abu al-Qasim al-Tabarani. Abu al-Qasim al-Tabarani, the one who wrote the Ma'ajim, as well as others. So these are from his students. Ibn Hajar says, Mata sanata arba'in wa thamanin wa mi'atain, that this individual died in the year 284. So we see that this person is after the majority of Kutub al-Sittah. The only person from the 6 books who died after him was Nasa'i. Everybody else died before him. So they would have been his seniors or his contemporaries. And so that's probably the reason why this person is not mentioned in any of those books. قال ابن عساكر كان ثقة. Ibn Asakir, who was a famous later scholar of hadith, he said that this individual was thiqah. This individual was righteous and reliable. وقال في التاريخ, يعني Tariq ibn Tariq Damashq, right? Ibn Asakir has a book known as the History of Damascus. He said in his book Tariq, قال في التاريخ روى عنه النسائي ولم يذكره في شيوخ النبل. That he said in his book History, i.e. the History of Damascus, that an-Nasa'i narrated on this individual, and he did not mention him from the sheikhs of an-Nabal. Right? He didn't mention him from he has a book, a Shuyukh an-Nabal, right? The scholars that he narrated on. Nasa'i, although he narrates on him in this book, he didn't mention him in that book when he talks about the teachers he narrated on. قلت, Ibn Hajar, he says, روى عنه محمد بن الحسن الحمداني وقال إنه صالح وذكره ابن حبان في الثقات. Ibn Hajar says that Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Hamdani narrated on this individual as well, Ahmad ibn Ibraahim ibn Fil. And he said that he was a righteous person. He says, and he was also mentioned by Ibn Hibban in his book, Thiqat, right, righteous and reliable narrators. وقال النسائي في أسامي شيوخه رواية حمزة لا بأس به وذكر من عفته وورعه وثقته. And an-Nasa'i, he does mention him in his book where he names his teachers from the chain of Hamza. And then Nasa'i said about him that there's no problem with him. And he mentioned his chastity, his chasteness, and his piety, and his reliability. So we can see that this individual is another individual who is acceptable. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Fil al-Asadi al-Balisi Abu al-Hasan. Now, the third one, and obviously our desire to do 50 doesn't look like we're going to get there. He says, the third isnad, Mim Dal Ta Qaf. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd al-Dawraqi al-Nukri al-Baghdadi Abu Abdullah. Right? Test yourself. When you hear me say Mim, Dal, Ta, Qaf, what books are those? Mim, Sahih Muslim. Dal, Sunan Abi Dawood. Ta, Tirmidhi. Qaf, Ibn Majah. So this person, his hadith can be found in those four books. Al-Arba'ah, the four books except Nasa'i, and likewise Muslim, right? So 4 out of the 6 books, you can find his hadith in them. Who is he? He is Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd ad-Dawraqi. Ad-Dawraqi is with a fatha on the dal and a sukoon on the waw, and then a ra with a fatha, and the end of it is a qaf. That's how you say it. And it is when you attribute a person to there are different opinions about what it means when you say a person is Dawraqi. And the author himself will explain what it means later on in the disagreement regarding it. So, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd ad-Dawraqi an-Nukri. An-Nukri with a dhamma on the noon and a sukoon on the kaf, and at the end of it, ara, is affiliating a person to Bani Nukr. And they were a group of people from the descendants of Abdi Qais, right? Abdi Qais was an Arab, and so this individual was an Arab. And he was from the descendants of Abdi Qais from Bani Nukr. Al-Baghdadi, meaning he lived in Baghdad, and his kunya was Abu Abdullah, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd ad-Dawraqi an-Nukri al-Baghdadi Abu Abdullah. Another thing to pay attention to, the order that they mention these things, how they mention the name, and then the laqab, and then the family affiliation, and then the place where they lived, right? There's an order on how the people of hadith would mention these things. Ibn Hajar, he says about this person, Rawa and Hafs ibn Ghiyath Med. Naam, wa Jarir, wa Hushaym, Dal, wa Qaf, wa Ismail, wa Rib'i ibn Ulayya, wa Shababa, wa Yazid ibn Harun, wa Mubashir ibn Ismail al-Halbi, wa Khaalid ibn Makhlad, wa ghayrihim. This person from the people that he narrated on from his teachers was Hafs ibn Ghiyath, as can be found in the Marasil of Abi Dawood, as well as Jarir. And you got to learn who Jarir is. Right now, I'm assuming it's Jarir ibn Abdul Hamid, right? And Hushaym. And you got to know who Hushaym is, right? When they say names like this without any qualifications, it's because these people are famous. So you need to know who they are. Hushaym ibn Bashir. He says, Hushaym, you can find his hadith on Hushaym in Abi Dawood and Ibn Majah. Likewise, Ismail and Rib'i, the two sons of Ulayya, as well as Shababa and Yazid ibn Harun and Mubashir ibn Ismail al-Halbi and Khalid ibn Makhlad and other than them. These were from his teachers. He says, وَرَوَى عَنْهُ Muslim wa Abu Dawood wa Tirmidhi wa Ibn Majah وبقي بن مخلد وعبد الله بن أحمد بن حنبل ويعقوب بن شيبة وغيرهم. Subhanallah. Look at his students. From his students were Muslim and Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah and Baqi ibn Makhlad, right? My guy, Baqi ibn Makhlad, as well as Abdullah ibn Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Yaqub ibn Shayba and other than them. So these are from his students. All of them were imams. Qala Abu Hatim Saduq. Abu Hatim al-Razi said he was reliable, honest and reliable. Right? And we got to learn these terms, right? Thiqah, and then under thiqah is Suduq. Right? This is where you go to the books of the Mustalah al-Hadith and see the words that they would use to grade people. He says, Qala Salihu Jazara, Kana Ahmadu Aktharahuma Haditha. وأعلمهما بالحديث وكان يعقوب يعني أخاه أسندهما وكان جميعا ثقتين. Salih ibn Jazara, he said that Ahmed was the more abundant of the two of them in hadith. Right? Ahmed, who was the two of them? He's going to tell you later that he had a brother named Yaqub ibn Ibraahim ibn Kathir, who were both scholars of hadith. So Salih Jazara is saying that Ahmed was the more abundant of the two of them in narrating hadith. And he was the more knowledgeable of the two of them, while Yaqub, i.e. his brother, was more sound in his isnad, kana asnaduhum, right? He was able to present the chain more flawlessly, and both of them were righteous and reliable. And this is a science I love. If Allah blesses me with time, it's something I wanted to do for a while, which is write a book of the people of hadith, right? The rijal, but only mention them in comparison, right? So focusing on the comparison of who's more reliable. So when you get into hadith where there is different versions and different chains, and you need to determine whose chain is better, this science of knowing who is more reliable is an important science. So, for example, if we have two hadith, one of them with Ahmad ibn Ibraahim, ibn Kathir ibn Zayd, and the other one with Yaqub ibn Ibraahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd, okay, Ahmad was more abundant. He was more knowledgeable. So if he's talking about the hadith, the meanings and things like that, then yeah. But the isnad, no, Yaqub was better in the isnad. So if they have a disagreement in the one of them is saying the isnad is this way, you might want to take Yaqub's position. And so that's why it's important to know these preferences and these levels of the individuals. So it'd be a nice book to just have everybody, how they stack up to other people. And you'll find that all throughout this book, he'll be doing things like that, mentioning how people stack up to other people. As a matter of fact, since I'm here, I might as well start, right? Did I miss anybody before? Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Yahla Ba'sa bihi. Salih ibn Awwal, no. Ibraahim, no, he doesn't mention him in comparison. No. This is the first time that somebody's been mentioned in comparison. Now, after that, he says, Kana mawladu Ahmad sinat 68 wa 100 ومات في شعبان سنة 46 و200. He says that Ahmad, yani Ahmad ibn Ibraahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd al-Dawraqi al-Nukri al-Baghdadi Abu Abdullah. Now, he says about him that he was born in the year 168. He was born in the year 168, and he died in Sha'ban in the year 240. So 168 to 240. That is 2 would make it 170, and then 70 would make it 240. So 72 years old when he died. Ibn Hajar, he says, Qultu وَفِيهَا أَرَّخَ السَّرَّاجِ. He says, and this is the same year that was mentioned by As-Sarraj. As-Sarraj was another scholar of hadith. Ibn Hajar, he says, وَقَالَ الْعُقَيْلِي ثِقَةٌ. Al-Uqayli was another scholar of hadith who has a book. He says that this person, Ahmad ibn Ibraahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd al-Dawraqi al-Nukri al-Baghdadi Abu Abdullah was thiqah. He says, وَقَالَ الْخَلِيلِيُّ فِي الْإِرْشَادِ ثِقَةٌ مُتَّفَقٌ عَلَيْهِ. He says that Khalili said about him in his book Al-Irshad that he was thiqah, and he was somebody that everybody agreed about. Right? So that's a high praise now, right? He went from being just thiqah to now being somebody that everybody agreed about. He says, وَذَكَرَهُ ibn Hibban فِي الثِّقَات. Likewise, Ibn Hibban mentioned him in his book Al-Thiqat. He says, when Nukri, here Ibn Hajar is talking about the explanation of the person's affiliations. He says, a Nukri is with a dhamma on the noon when a person is attributed to Bani Nukr, and they are a branch of Abdi Qais. They are from the tribes of Abdi Qais. And a Dawraqi, قال ابن الجارود في مشيخته وهو من أهل دورق من أعمال الأهواز وهي معروفة وإليها تنسب القلانس الدورقية. He said that Ad-Dawraqi, Ibn al-Jarud, a famous scholar of hadith, has a musnad. He said in his Mashyakha, in his book of his teachers, that this individual who has this affiliation is being attributed to the people of Dawraq, which is from the villages of Al-Ahwaz. And Al-Ahwaz is an area in Iran. He says, and that is a well-known place. And to this location, the Taghiya, the Qalaniswa, right? The Qalanis, the Taghiya, they're like those box kufis that are known as a Dawraqiya, come from there, right? And so it's giving you some history where those type of Taghiyat come from. That specific type of Qalaniswa that is known as a Dawraqiya comes from that area in Iran where this person is from or attributed to. That's one opinion about what a Dawraqi means. He says, وَيُقَالُ بَلْ هُوَ مَنْسُوبٌ إِلَى صِنْعَةِ الْقَلَانِسِ لَا إِلَى الْبَلَدِ فَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ. Some people say that no, a person who is called a Dawraqi is because he is being attributed to his job, which was making those Taghiyat, making those Kufis, not to the area itself, and Allah knows best. So is Dawraqi his job or is Dawraqi his location, right? And here it says almost as if he's saying that it's the job, right? Because he mentioned it first, and then he mentioned his tribe, and then he mentioned his location. And so that's something interesting, and that's just the benefit, right? The scholars of hadith had jobs. He was a hat maker, a kufi maker, right? A dawraqi. Ibn Hajar, he says, قال اللالكائي كان يلبس القلانس الطوال. Al-Lalaka'i said about this person, the person who's attributed here at Dawraqi, because he used to wear those types of tagiyah. Not because he was from that area or because he made them, but because he used to wear them all the time. So they used to call him a Dawraqi, right? The one who always has on that type of tagiyah, right? Like a person who always wears a t-shirt of a certain type or shoes of a certain type, you would attribute them to that. And so that's why Al-Lalaka'i said his nickname was Ad-Dawraqi. So that was his nickname. Now, Ahmad ibn Ibraahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd Ad-Dawraqi Al-Nukri Al-Baghdadi Abu Abdullah. That's number 3. We'll do 5 today, inshallah. It looks like that's all we're going to be able to do, 5. He says, وَفِي الزَّهْرَ رَوَى أَن Muslim 13. He says, and in the book known as Az-Zahra, that Muslim narrated 13 hadith on him. This book Az-Zahra, I don't know if we mentioned it in the introduction. There's a book by one of the scholars of Andalus who is unknown that Ibn Hajar benefits in his tahdhib from. And the book that this person named, talking about the scholars of the 6, he mentions him by name. His name was known. What was his name? I got it in here. But he wrote a book called Az-Zahra that Ibn Hajar benefits from. And it's important not to get him confused with somebody else. I'll mention it later, inshallah, when it comes up next time. But he mentioned that person, he mentions in his book that this person, Ahmad ibn Ibraahim, that's not it, Ahmad ibn Ibraahim, ibn Kathir, ibn Zayd, ad-Dawraqi, he narrated, Muslim narrated 13 hadith on this individual. I must have took it back upstairs now. Anyway, now, so that's number 3. Number 4, he says, seen. Ahmad ibn Ibraahim ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Bakkar ibn Abdul Malik ibn al-Walid ibn Busr ibn Abi Arta al-Amiri Abu Abdul Malik al-Busri al-Damashqi. Test yourself. When I say seen, what book is that? Right? Eventually, we want to stop mentioning the books. Seen is obviously Nasa'i. So this person's biography, the person is only found in Sunan al-Nasa'i. Who is the person? His name is Ahmed, the son of Ibrahim, the son of Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, the son of Bakkar, the son of Abdul Malik, the son of Al-Walid, the son of Busr, the son of Abi Arta al-Amiri, Abu Abdul Malik al-Busri al-Damashqi. He was from the Amir tribe. His kunya was Abu Abdul Malik. And he was affiliated as well to Busr. And he was also from Damascus. Right? Ahmed ibn Ibrahim ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Bakkar ibn Abdul Malik ibn al-Walid ibn Busr ibn Abi Arta al-Amiri Abu Abdul Malik al-Busri al-Damashqi. Ibn Hajar, he says, like the person asks, is Ahmed Ibrahim a scholar of hadith? Which one? So far, everybody's been named Ahmed ibn Ibrahim, right? Because this is the book of people. And so far, we found that everybody we're going to touch on for the foreseeable future, for at least 10 people. No, 9, 8, 7, 6. Oh, perfect. Number 5. Yeah. So yeah, I could just look at the next page. So the first 4 people are all Ahmed ibn Ibrahim. But the one we just did, who was in Muslim, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, and Ibn Majah, then yes, that person would be from the scholars of hadith. But so would the other 2. The other 2 would be from the scholars of hadith as well. Here we have Ahmed ibn Ibrahim ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Bakkar ibn Abdul Malik ibn Walid ibn Busr ibn Abi Arta al-Amiri Abu Abdul Malik al-Busri al-Damashqi. Ibn Hajar, he says, Rawa an Ibn Nadr al-Faradisi seen. ومحمد ابن عائذ الدمشقي ويزيد بن خالد الرملي وأبي مصعب الزهري وإبراهيم بن المنذر الحزامي كن وأبي الطاهر ابن صرح وجماعة. He says that this individual, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Busri, he says that this individual from his teachers, from those he narrated on, were Abu Nadhr al-Faradisi, as can be found with Nasa'i, as well as Muhammad ibn U'aid al-Damashqi, as well as Yazid ibn Khaalid al-Ramli, as well as Abi Mus'ab al-Zuhri. Abi Mus'ab, again, that student of Imam Malik. You find that a lot of the people who narrated the Muwatta from the later generations, they would use Abu Mus'ab, right? More than Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. Abu Mus'ab was the last person to narrate the Muwatta, and he was the Qadi of Medina. And so narrating from him a Medini on a Medini was better than narrating on Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi. But because Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi was in Andalus, was in Spain, and the people there were Maliki, you found them giving a lot more importance to the Muwatta. And so that's why that became the dominant narration. Now, he says, now, Abi Tahir ibn Sarh, I'm sorry, Abi Mus'ab al-Zuhri, as well as Ibraahim ibn al-Mundhir al-Hizami, as you can find in the Musnad of Ahmed, Musnad of Malik with Nasa'i, as well as Abi Tahir ibn al-Sarh and others. These were from his teachers. He says, روى عنه النسائي وأبو عوانة وابن جوصاء وأبو بكر أحمد بن مروان الدينوري أو الدينوري. I know it is a Dainuri, but they got a Dinuri. صاحب المجالسة وأبو جعفر العقيلي وأبو القاسم بن أبي العقب وأبي القاسم الطبراني وغيرهم. From his students were An-Nasa'i, obviously, and Abu Awana, we talked about him, and Ibn Jawsa, and Abu Bakr Ahmed ibn Marwan al-Dainuri, a famous scholar, Sahib al-Majalasa. He wrote the book known as Al-Mujalasa. Likewise, Abu Ja'far al-Uqayli, a famous scholar, has a book of hadith. As well as Abu al-Qasim ibn Abi al-Aqib, as well as Abu al-Qasim al-Tabarani. We talked about him, right? Al-Tabarani. And other than them. So these were from his students. قال النسائي لا بأس به. Nasa'i said there's nothing wrong with him, right? He's okay. وقال ابن عساكر, like لا بأس به is around the range of Saduq, right? It might be a little bit under Saduq, right? لا بأس به. There's nothing wrong with him, right? It's not saying good, but it's not saying bad, and so it's saying good, right? There's nothing wrong with him. Nasa'i said لا بأس به. And Ibn Asakir said he was thiqah. Ibn Asakir said that this individual was thiqah. Ibn Hajar says he died mata fi Shawwal sanata tis'in wa thamanin wa mi'atain. He died in Shawwal in the year 289, right? So just like Ibrahim, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khaalid, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn, who was number two? Who was number two? I can't remember the name now. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Fil al-Asadi, right? So just like him, he's somebody that only Nasa'i narrated on, right? Because of his later generation, right? Now, and Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Fil, he died 284. Now, lastly, and this is the last person, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim, he says Ahmad ibn Ibrahim at-Taymi, and this person is from the additions. These are from the people that Ibn Hajar himself added that weren't in the other book, right? He says Ahmad ibn Ibrahim at-Taymi, sawabuhu Ibrahim ibn Muhammad at-Taymi, yati wal hadithu fi awaili an-nikah min dal. There's another person known as Ahmad ibn Ibrahim at-Taymi, but what is actually correct is that his name is Ibrahim ibn Muhammad at-Taymi. So this is an example of how somebody could be known and isnad with the wrong name. And so Ibn Hajar is saying, if you see this person, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim at-Taymi, then what it should be is Ibrahim ibn Muhammad at-Taymi. And his biography is going to be mentioned later. And the hadith with this person is in the beginning of the book of marriage from Sunan Abi Dawood, right? In the beginning of the book of marriage from Sunan Abi Dawood. Let's see. Ahmad ibn, oh no, this is the wrong book. Let's go here. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim التيمي. أخبرنا أبو سعيد الحسن بن محمد بن عبد الله بن حسنوية الأصبهاني قال حدثنا أبو جعفر أحمد بن إبراهيم التيمي قال حدثنا عمران بن عبد الرحيم. Right? Let's take out the Taymi part and see if we can find it in Abi Dawood. Sunan Abi Dawood. Tirmidhi. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Mawsili. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim أخبرنا عبد الصمد. There's a lot of Ahmad ibn Ibrahims in Sunan Abi Dawood, but most likely that's Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Kathir, because that's the one who Abu Dawood narrated on. As far as the other ones, then Abu Dawood, oh no, he also narrated on Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khaalid. Now, so, and that's the benefit, right? Because like you see that this Ahmad ibn Ibrahim, there's two of them or maybe three of them that Abu Dawood narrated on. And so now you need to know who were their teachers and who were their students so you can know which one is it. The good news is that so far, the four Ahmeds that we've covered, all of them have been reliable. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khalid, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khalid, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khalid, Nazil al-Baghdad, but he was from al-Mosul, al-Mosuli. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khalid al-Mawsili, Nazil al-Baghdad, Abu al-Hasan. And then we had, and yes, he was Thiqa or Suduq. Then we had Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Fil al-Asadi, al-Balisi, Nazil Antakiya, Abu Abdullah. No, he didn't mention his kunya. Abu al-Hasan, he was Abu al-Hasan. The first one was Abu Ali. Then Abu al-Hasan, he was Thiqa. Naam. And then we had Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd, Abu Abdullah, Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd. I see it right there. He's right there. Ad-Dawraqi, Al-Nukri, Al-Baghdadi, Abu Abdullah. Naam. He was thiqa. And then we had Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn, and this was the long one. And so we'll just go Muhammad, right? Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah, Abu Abdul Malik, Al-Busri, Al-Damashqi, Al-Amiri, inshallah thiqa as well, or Saduq, I would probably assume. And then Ahmad ibn Ibrahim at-Taymi. So those are the first four biographies. We've covered everybody that is Ahmad ibn Ibrahim. Everybody who is Ahmad ibn Ibrahim are finished. So if you know there are 5 Ahmad ibn Ibrahims in the 6 books, and only 2 of them are in, no, 3 of them are in, right? Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khalid is in Dawood, and Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn, and it helps because they're all in alphabetical order. Ibn Fil is only in Nasa'i in his Musnad of Imam Malik. So he's not in the 6. And then you have Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Kathir ibn Zayd. He's in Muslim wa Dawood wa Tirmidhi wa Ibn Majah. And then we have Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Bakkar, Abu Abdul Malik, al-Damashqi, al-Busri, al-Damashqi. He's only in Nasa'i. Naam. And then we have Ahmad ibn Ibrahim at-Taymi, who should really be Ahmad ibn Muhammad at-Taymi. And we'll talk about him later. We'll stop at that amount. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. And if you do something like this, a little bit at a time, 5 people, you'll find your familiarity becoming stronger. When you read these books of hadith, memorizing the isnad will become easier because you'll know who these people are. As we say, our goal is just to get familiar with these people. So now Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khaalid is okay. So let's go back. Wa alaikum salam. Is Ahmad ibn Ibrahim the scholar of hadith? Yeah, he's one of them. Which one? He said Ahmad ibn Ibrahim ibn Khaalid from the people of hadith. Yes, he's the one that's only in Dawood, Sunan Nabi Dawood, and Tafsir ibn Majah. Saduq. Ibn Hajar said about him, Saduq. He died in the year 236 or 46, 236. Now, meaning he's accepted? Yes, he's accepted. Not accepted, he is accepted with a. Does Saduq mean truthful? That's what it means linguistically, truthful. But we said Saduq is usually a term of praise for somebody who is less than thiqah, but not da'if. You say that person is Saduq. Wa alaikum salam. Is Ahmad Ibrahim the scholar of hadith? It's all repetitive, so I don't know if something got disconnected or not. We'll see. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.